Dr. Branch and Pastor Pressley, welcome to American Black Journal.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's a joy to be here with you.
So, Dr. Branch, I'm going to start with you. You made a decision to pass along the mantle of your church, the responsibility of your church to Pastor Pressley, which means you obviously have faith in him as an individual to lead that institution into the future. But talk about how that decision fits into this larger question of young people, young African Americans, and their relationship to the church. What's your level of faith in the ability and even the interest of young African Americans to continue this history and legacy in our community?
Well, I have lots of faith in that because one of the things about it is that I remember so well being that young person, and coming along, and you want opportunity, you want freedom, you want a chance to come into your own, and so I feel that many of the young people who are coming along now are in the same position, and had not someone handed it off to me and bidded me, forward, who knows where we would be. So I think that that's what it's about. The whole cycle is very, very important. And to have someone of the caliber of Pastor Pressley that we could, partner with in ministry was just dynamic in and of itself. And so, I have plenty of hopes for a bright, bright future for the church in general, but for the ministry that we have been a part of for such a long time, in particular. So I'm just delighted and continue to celebrate where all of this is headed.
Yeah. So Pastor Pressley, I have heard recently that you have been doing this in some form since you were a teenager. So you never really had doubt, I guess, about the future of the Black church or its importance. But talk to me about where that comes from for you, where the interest comes from, and then where the desire for responsibility comes from.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. And I don't know about to say I haven't had any doubts. It reminds me about that father in the biblical text who says, "I believe, but help now my unbelief." Because there have been phases in my life where I really wondered whether or not the value and relevancy of the church will persist even for my generation. And so that period was really around my college years. And fascinating enough, it was at that time that I really began to ask some tough questions of the text. And one of those was I take seriously my call of being a follower of Jesus Christ. And I was troubled by the fact that from the age of 12 to the age of 30, there is no narrative of Christ's life. And so I found it very difficult to figure out how Christ would have been in those youth and young adult years with no narrative in the story. And it was at that time that I noted that may be the lesson of the text, that each person deserves those 18 missing years, if you will, those years of wandering and exploring to get a sense of yourself and your values, so that once you get of age, you are convicted by your beliefs and your principles and are able to hold on to them tightly. And so I think that has helped, being raised in a Christian household, being in the church all of my life. I have seen both up close and afar of the benefits of having a faith community to undergird you, to pray for you, and to be supportive. And I think that even for the millennial generation, this sense of community is a yearning. And so if the church can continue to build upon that sense of community, I think that even for this generation, the church will still have meaningful impact in the lives of many people.
So, Dr. Branch, tell us about the church that you have left for Pastor Pressley, and some of the challenges that you might identify there in terms of getting more young people interested and involved in the congregation, in the very idea of church. Where does all of that stand at your church?
Well, Third New Hope has been a vibrant church, through the years. I started there in 1977, so
Mhm.
it's been a while.
Well, a
And
little bit.
yeah, yeah, and so we watched the median age of our congregation as we were growing hang around my age. When I started at 23 years old, so a large number of our members in our first 5 years were between 25 and 30 years old. So
Mhm.
we had a, a major young church at that time, but I watched that church begin to age with me. Now, we were blessed because our children during that time was also being reared into the church. So we started having babies and children were born right there. And then, of course, bringing in other people as well and watching the church, grow from just a few under 25 to into the thousands was just amazing over those years. And keeping it a vibrant church really did mean keeping a good number of young people involved and active and all of the rest. So what we have come to it, upon my retirement, we were just at another of those crossroads where, hey, you either take that leap or you don't, and so we were just blessed to be able to just pass the baton and to just remain hopeful and anticipate a continuous growth and development of a vibrant church, which it has continued to be even during a pandemic.
Mm.
So we're very proud of where Third New Hope is.
Yeah. So, Pastor Presley, you're inheriting all of this. Give me a sense of the role that young African Americans are playing at Third New Hope now, what you're walking sort of with at this point, but then what your hope is for the future and perhaps enhancing that role and that engagement.
Well, yeah, upon becoming lead pastor here at Third New Hope Baptist Church, I pastored for 10 weeks before we entered into a global pandemic that forced all ministries to kind of engage with technology and a digital platform in order to do meaningful ministry. And in that way, really leaning upon our youth and our young adults to be able to lead that charge has been invaluable. And so as we continue to move forward, I think that is yet the function and the focus of our ministry is to ensure that we are mission driven, that we give people an opportunity to make a meaningful difference, not only in their personal lives individually, but in the communities in which we serve. And I think that really is the level that millennials and Gen Zers are looking for. They want to be able to see a meaningful and significant difference in the communities in which these churches reside, so that we know that we are making an impact in the lives of real individuals. And so as we move forward, I think one of the things that I have to continue to remind myself of is I'm a pastor who's a millennial, but I don't lead a millennial church because the large majority of our membership is much older than I am. But that is one of the challenges of ministry, is that as a organization, we have to deal with many demographics and be able to hold them all at the same time. And so I think even this conversation models that what we are attempting to do at Third New Hope, which is to be intergenerational in our ministry offerings, to make sure that everyone has a space and a place to feel their God connection.
Yeah. Dr. Branch, I want to go back to 1977 and talk about when you became pastor at Third New Hope and were a young person. What was the reaction in the congregation then to you? How accepting were they of the idea of someone that young being the leader of that congregation?
Oh, I could tell you stories about that. Even though it was so few of us, but there were deacons and other church leaders at that time who had been there and who were founding members of the congregation. And so even as pastor, I had to deal with hearing on occasion, my youngest boy is older than you, and things, and things of that nature. And so, but I think, with time and with experience, once you actually do ministry, you minister to families, you get the opportunities to preach and to teach and all the rest, then people begin to open up and to accept not only your ministry, but to accept you as a person. And so I became embraced by the few we had. And then, of course, after that, with the phenomenal growth, the church just began to multiply. So no matter what my age, those who came in and were joining our congregation were joining under me, under my leadership. And so they had already mentally and emotionally embraced me and embraced my leadership to become a part of the congregation. And so I really did not have, any type of real struggle or pushback against my leadership because of my age during that time. And as I stated, the growth was mainly based upon those who were in my age group.
Mhm.
And so that was a big plus. And we were able to do the kind of things that that the young people had a heart for and really wanted to see happen. And it just continued to add more vibrance and vitality to the ministry that we had.
Yeah, yeah. So, Pastor Pressley, give me a sense of how that looks on your end now, and especially how the pandemic has played into that. I mean, everybody needs more support now than they did before this all happened to us. I know of the strain on churches, the enormous strain of pastoral support, but also in some cases, real support like food support and other things that people have encountered. How has your age sort of played into that narrative since you've been there?
Well, I would say that the Lord blessed me because I'm a unique amalgamation of a young spirit and an old soul, which allows me to be versatile, whether I'm dealing with my peers or my elders, being able to have substantial relationships with each of them. And so, it really has come to bear in one, I come to this work of pastoring after spent some time in government work. And so being uniquely aware of the different resources and agencies that are available to help individuals in times of need and distress has been really important. And so whether it has been providing tablets to our seniors with the Connect 313 project, or whether it's been vaccination sites, whether it's been providing back to school modules for our youth, we really tried to make it a point to ensure that at each stage of life that we are meeting the needs of our membership. And one of the things that has been a blessing is that oftentimes when we enter into church succession, it is often unexpected and the result of maybe the pastor passing away. But the beauty of the transition that we've experienced here at Third New Hope is that I'm still in close contact and relationship with our pastor emeritus. Mm-hmm. And so to be able to have his wisdom, his advice, his support to navigate these pastoral waters has been, invaluable to the success of our ministry. And so, again, I think that this intergenerational approach is really important because, again, it takes all of us, not just focusing on the millennials. Everyone has a role to play to the church, being a vibrant and a viable institution for our community.
Okay. Well, Dr. Branch and Pastor Pressley, it was really great to hear about all the great things happening in the past and in the present and hopefully in the future at Third New Hope. Thanks so much for joining us on American Black Journal.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.